Hey guys, hope you are all doing great. Welcome back to my channel Lowest End Gaming. Today I am going to play another new game called Winds of Arcana Ruination using Intel UHD 620 iGPU. But before starting the video, let's check my system specification. My HP 250G7 notebook laptop has Intel Core i5 8th generation processor at 1.6 GHz speed with 16GB Dual-Channel DDR4 RAM and 256GB NVMe SSD. And my operating system is Windows 11 64-bit. My Intel UHD 620 iGPU has only 128 MB dedicated graphics memory and 8GB shared graphics memory. So guys, let's see how Winds of Arcana Ruination performs on my laptop. This game does not have much video settings. So I am going to play this game at default video settings. Now let's start the gameplay.
Oh, just die already!
As you can see guys, I am getting 60 FPS during cutscene and 26 to 27 FPS during gameplay with screen record. However, without screen record I was getting same FPS during cutscene but 30 FPS during gameplay.
They're here.
Aaron, you're alive.
Good to see you too, Yasui.
How? I saw you die. It's good to see you, Aaron, despite the circumstances.
Where's the rest of the band?
Missing, dead.
Even our captain?
Caldric went missing last. Went into the old palace.
Right. How do I reach the...
Go straight from here, across this keep. But find Caldric's camp. It's just above this room. You might find...
Thank you, Yasui.
You're here now. That's all. Stay safe, little Mercer.
Winds of Arcana Ruination is a dark fantasy Metroidvania action platformer developed by Brewed Games, an India-based independent game studio and published by 1312 Interactive. The game stands out not only for its atmospheric 2.5D world and deep progression structure, but also because it represents one of the most ambitious Metroidvania productions to emerge from the Indian gaming scene in recent years. India's game development landscape had traditionally leaned towards mobile, casual, and outsourced design work for international studios. So, a mid-scale Metroidvania of this depth reflects a growing rise of PC-focused indie creativity within the industry. Brewed Games, being a young studio, has stepped into a space where Indian developers are beginning to challenge global standards in narrative-driven and mechanically dense titles, showing that India is no longer limited to lighter arcade-oriented production. The developers aim to create a handcrafted fantasy world steeped in ruins, history, and arcane corruption, a tone uncommon in mainstream Indian game releases, which gives the title distinct international appeal. With a world rooted in exploration, weapon magic hybrid combat, and progressive ability-based traversal, Winds of Arcana Ruination marks a noteworthy point in India's evolving presence in PC Metroidvania genre. Brewed Games' attempt to merge lore, challenge, and progression demonstrate how Indian studios are maturing from outsource-only pipelines into original IP creators capable of competing in the global indie ecosystem. Now, let's talk about the story. The narrative of Winds of Arcana Ruination unfolds in the cursed land of Lirna, a crumbled kingdom ravaged by arcane misuse, betrayal, and ancient forces long forgotten. The protagonist, Aryan, a mercenary hardened by battle and past regret, is drawn back into conflict not with the goal of heroism, but through personal loss and a duty to rescue his missing comrades. Throughout his journey, he confronts remnants of civilizations swallowed by magic, oppressive warlords, spectral guardians, and entities twisted by corruption. A noteworthy artistic layer comes from the fact that developers are Indian, a cultural background that rarely appears in Western style fantasy, yet still influences tone subtly. Indian creators often approach mythology with emphasis on cyclical destruction, reincarnative fate, cosmic punishment, and balance between creation and ruin. While the game does not explicitly draw from Indian mythology, the thematic imprint of moral cost of power, destiny shaped by past sins, and restoration through sacrifice mirrors philosophical undercurrents common in Indian storytelling traditions. Brewed Games brings a form of narrative sensitivity that blends Western dark fantasy with the introspective emotional weight of Eastern narrative philosophy. Instead of glorifying conquest, the story focuses on consequences and decay, a perspective that gives learner downfall and Aryan's journey an added emotional heaviness. Each region Aryan crosses feels like a historical scar, not a merely battlefield. Every relic he uncovers shows that long before the player arrived, people lived, built, loved, and perished. This depth of ruin, presented through environmental storytelling instead of exposition alone, creates a world that feels tragic and automatically lived in, strengthening the narrative impact beyond typical Metroidvania fantasy. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. Winds of Arcana Ruination follows classical Metroidvania foundation, interconnected zones, upgrade-gated progression, complex combat, and secrets hidden across a sprawling map. Players master melee weaponry ranging from swords to hammers to chakrams. But the standout system is the Soul's Crest, magical artifacts that transform Aryan into a warrior mage hybrid capable of spell discharge, elemental strikes, spectral defense, or ranged arcane burst. Where Indian development identity appears most clearly is in the resourcefulness of system design. Many Indian studios entering the PC market compensate for smaller budgets with creativity rather than graphical excess. And Brewed Games implements this smartly. Instead of relying on cinematic scale, the game builds depth through layered mechanics, hybrid combat pathways, progression dopamine, and reward-based exploration. Each biome is handcrafted with lore fragments embedded as environmental memory, something common in global indie Metroidvanias, but executed here with surprisingly high cohesion for a debut Indian project. The traversal upgrades, double jumps, arcane dashes, spirit shield glides open older spaces in new ways, encouraging loop backtracking the way top tier Metroidvanias do. Boss fights demand timing discipline, tactical experimentation, and build tuning, not button spam, reflecting a design philosophy closer to skill sharpening rather than raw power fantasy. Indian developers are still newer to hardcore combat-based PC markets. Yet, Winds of Arcana proves that Indian studios can compete not only in story-rich worlds but in mechanically demanding gameplay experiences. reception of Winds of Arcana Ruination has been widely positive, especially impressive considering that India is still emerging on the global map for PC-grade indie production. Many players express admiration that an Indian studio has delivered Metroidvania with such world density, voice-acted storytelling, thematic tone consistency, and combat complexity. For international audiences, the game represents India's capability beyond mobile-first casual markets, showing that Indian teams can produce dark fantasy PC titles with weight, load, and mechanical ambition. Reviews often highlight atmospheric strength, beautiful ruins, environmental narration, and versatility of combat builds as strongest qualities. Critics tend to mention early movement stiffness, late zone pacing, or occasional balance spikes, but these are seen as typical friction points of studio debuts rather than major defects. Western and Asian Metroidvania fans specifically note their surprise that the project originates from India, praising it as a sign of maturing game development ecosystem in the country. Indian indie developers historically lacked large-scale visibility due to funding gaps, outsourcing culture, and market tilt toward mobile titles. But Winds of Arcana Ruination joins a growing wave of Indian PC games post 2024 that prove creative independence is expanding rapidly. Overall, reception frames the game as a promising milestone for the Indian gaming industry. Not only a strong Metroidvania, but a statement piece that Indian developers are stepping forward into global conversation. The path it opens matters as much as the game itself. As a gamer, I feel genuinely proud to play a title of this scale developed by an Indian studio. Winds of Arcana Ruination feels like proof that Indian developers are stepping into the global Metroidvania space with serious ambition. And experiencing a homegrown game of this caliber is something that makes me hopeful for the future of PC development in India. However, no achievement is complete without constructive criticism. Visually, the game looks good, but it does not yet reach the richness and style of titles like Prince of Persia, Ori and the Blind Forest, or Hollow Knight Silksong. The environments sometimes feel a bit flat in comparison, and the lighting depth could be improved to create more visual impact. Performance is another area where I expected more. I averaged around 30 FPS in the game, while Ori ran at consistent 60 FPS and Silksong even crossed 70 plus FPS on my system. I also encountered a few glitches, such as the character being thrown unexpectedly after taking damage, and occasional freezing during ladder climbing. Despite these issues, I am genuinely impressed by how much a small Indian studio has achieved. I am confident updates will polish the experience, and I will absolutely recommend others to play this game. So that's it guys, I'm going to wrap up this video here. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching till the end. See you tomorrow with a new gameplay video. Till then, take care, tata and happy gaming.